DJ and PK, we are brought to you in part by Beehive Meals. The KSL Sports Zone and Beehive Meals are honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week at kslsports.com/contest. And listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. It's the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week.
Ain't that the truth?
All right, this morning we just talked to Tim Lacombe about 20 minutes ago. So many BYU players entering the transfer portal. Why? What can be done about it? Tim reiterated, well, don't bring in so many freshmen. It's a big jump to college basketball, but it's an even bigger jump to the Big 12. He's preaching get old, stay old. Bring in juniors, PK. Bring in experienced guys.
Why can't you?
I
think you have to have everything, though. I don't think you can just bring in juniors and seniors who, to an extent, and maybe fully, are retreads. And are they coming to your place to build this winning culture, as they say, or are they coming for FGAs because I'm running out of time and I got to show, if not to the NBA folk, the European people, and if I'm getting 2 or 3 shots and playing 14 minutes at fill-in-the-blank school, they're not going to see what I can do. So I think that's not that stay old, get old, or whatever it is. I don't know. Somebody spun that as a clever phrase, but I'm not into clever phrases on 100% face value. I think it has to be on a case-by-case basis. And so as I look at that, see what's out there, what is best for me and my team. And I think that's where Kevin Young has had experience these last couple years of finding out what's going to work, what maybe doesn't work as well, what works better. And so I think you need to give him an opportunity to grow into this because he hasn't done this. He hasn't had to put together a team. I mean, there's change in the NBA, but there's not massive change from year to year, certainly at the level that we've seen at college ball the last several years. And now you factor in the money, and do you want to go ahead and blow all your money on top-end talent and then have literally get down to player 4? Not player 7, player 4, where if he hits 2 baskets, you're celebrating wildly. What a beneficial thing that is. What a lift it's going to give our team. Not hitting 5 baskets, 6 baskets. We're talking 2. And we all felt that watching BYU basketball this year. Oh my gosh, Kennard Davis hit a couple of 3s. Wow, how much does that improve our chances to win? That's what we were talking about. And the 5th person, forget it. You're getting virtually nothing, let alone the 6th and 7th. Kostic comes in a little bit towards the end, and he hits a couple of buckets. All of a sudden, you're thinking, oh, my gosh, this is one of these premier guys that they used to have in the NBA, the Vinnie Johnsons, the Eddie Johnsons, the Del Currys, and Dale Ellises. We remember those guys, those sharpshooters who come off the bench and just instant offense. Well, they had instant nothing. Stir and mix, and you got what you had while they were sitting on the bench, which is virtually nothing. You need to have more balance than that because you've already shown that DeBonsa couldn't do it by himself. And, yeah, injuries got in the way, and I know everybody wants to talk about that, but we're talking about having a team that advances to the Elite Eight. I don't think if everybody was healthy, they had enough firepower to get to that level. Maybe, most likely, they had enough firepower to get out of the first round, but they've already set the standard in year 1, Sweet 16. And so you've got to have guys that are less heralded but can play a role like they had in the first year. I get what he's thinking. My gosh, you get DeBonsa, you got to go all in. This literally could be a once-in-a-lifetime player. Even if this branch turns out to be all that, is he going to be as good as AJ? Wow, if he is, that's amazing. But probably not, just statistically. And so you have to have more balance, and I think KY's figuring all this stuff out.
I think that one question I would definitely ask if I were recruited and getting him in is, how much more isolation ball are you going to run? Because you talk about these guys coming into the game and can they hit shots? Can they hit even a couple? Well, how often do they get the ball? Now, there's an argument that they ran the isolation game because they only had 2 guys who were good enough to score. So why let the other guys have the ball? But other guys are going to say, how do you expect us to score? All we do is stand around and watch and wait to maybe get thrown the ball when we're open or not. Maybe it's just a pass to bail somebody out who's in trouble. So you can't really expect guys to score in that. So what's the offense going to look like going forward? I mean, there's a chance Kevin Young's an NBA guy, and the NBA runs a lot of isolation, but it's not really what we see a lot of in college. I don't think it's really what works a lot in college. It is trending that way in college. We see it more than we used to, for sure. But, man, BYU ran a lot of it. But maybe it was just necessity. Maybe that's not really what KY wants.
One of the things I love about Jason Beck as a coordinator is every place he's been, and I've heard him because I listen to – they post the Michigan stuff online. Mm-hmm. And I want to say for whatever reason, but obviously the reasons are obvious, that I'm interested in the program. And one of the things I love that he says, every year is a different year, and it's my job to take the individual talents and the collective talents and run a system that benefits and highlights what those individual talents are and the collective talents are. We saw that last year, right? All of a sudden last year, well, except for maybe the BYU game, and obviously the Texas Tech game was an issue too, but I think they had some issues on the defensive side. Well, no one was worrying about, he can't throw the long ball. Well, you get the ball in the end zone, that's all that mattered. Who cares which way you do it? And so Jason Beck, and obviously he knew that with Dampier having the history with him at New Mexico, and he highlighted. He's saying the same thing with, what's the kid's name, Underwood. Over there. And
Bryce Underwood, yeah.
And he's been talking about that. And because I listened to the stuff, and they posted after every spring practice, and he's been talking about that same thing. Well, that's what Kevin Young. What is your talent? What do you have? What strengths do you have? What weaknesses that can we hopefully get better or mask up if it comes to that? And I think we'll see that.
Did you see the behind-the-back pass Underwood threw? He threw a behind-the-back touchdown pass in one of their spring – I don't know what they were scrimming. They may have been a goal line situation. I don't know. But he took the snap. He started running to his right. And as he started, everyone started, and he just threw it behind the back and hit a guy in the end zone. That's what happens when you grow up watching Patrick Mahomes right there.
Well, whatever it takes, and this kid has enormous talent, and we'll be following Michigan. Certainly, 3 of us will be following it far more intensely than we ever followed. I mean, we followed it to a degree because it's Michigan, obviously, but now it's going to be like it's almost in the 801 or the 435. I got to find out what the area code is back there.
The 385.
The 385. The 385.
That's another area code here.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, isn't that is that an area code or is that just like an 800 number?
No, it's an area code.
Oh, it is? Where is that?
Wasatch Front.
We have a 385 here along the Wasatch Front?
We do.
Yep.
That shows you what I pay no attention to any of this stuff. My head is in the clouds when it comes to all this stuff. You two are 2 Utahns. Mine, no. I had no idea.
All right. So for Ann Arbor, Michigan, 734.
734. I'm going to have to remember that. The 734. In fact, I may get some what do you call it? The stuff they put under your eyes.
Eye black.
Eye black, yeah. And I'm going to put 734.
You're going to pull a Reggie Bush with the 519.
I certainly am in that last game of the season, man. I hope they beat the crap out of Ohio State 100-0 every single year. That's with or without Whittingham, but most especially with those guys there. So, yeah, and that's what Jason Beck's talking about. So let's see what Kevin comes up with, what he and his staff are able to do, because I think that each year that goes by, he's got a better understanding of what he needs to do to put out the best product possible. And he talked about it. Shooting is the holy grail. Okay. Shooting is obviously, as you say, what they give you points for, making the basket, not just shooting, but having it go in the basket. But you also have to have some defenders.
Oh, boy. And you're talking Elite Eight. You're not going to get to the Elite Eight with the 59th best defense in the country. That just you are battling so far uphill at that point. It would be something to pull that off. They've got to be better defensively.
You can occasionally outscore people, but you can't do it consistently. That's just a fact. And you look at the great Utah teams, and we know the defenders that they had. And we look at the Jimmer team. We know Jackson Emery. Jackson Emery,
also,
rightly
it's
so,
guys.
is like a hallowed name around here. And he never got the credit that he deserved. And talking to Dave Rose about this extensively is that, Jimmer was all that, but he quickly would pivot and go to the players that, okay, I'll do the dirty work so you can do that and you can get the glory. And there was several guys that would do that on that team, and they're unheralded, and I think of all the unheralded guys, Jackson Emery's like the most unheralded, right? Plus, he's a local kid, and we know his brother played and all that, so it's a name in the community. But just think about how vital he was and the Drew Hansons of the world for Utah. Yeah, absolutely. Now, the thing with Utah is that it wasn't that their teammates allowed Andre Miller and Keith Van Horn to do their thing. Majerus demanded it. Dave Rose likes to say, well, these teammates of Jimmers, they accepted their roles and flourished in it. So you can have some Holy Grail shooters, and that's awesome. But don't forget, when they need size, and because he got a rebound, they got killed, obviously, against Texas on the offensive glass. And when the kid was getting the board, he was shooting 100% because they were all put back dunks. You cannot allow that whatsoever. It was way too easy, and that was the difference in the game. The kid who was a decent player had a triple-double or a double-double by halftime. So give me size, and then also give me rugged, tough defenders. Toughness that Tim Lacombe just talked about. You can't put a price tag on toughness because it doesn't jump out at you. And I don't think those boosters can see what toughness is. I don't think they have the trained eye. They want to see the gaudy stats and the 5 stars and all that stuff. Well, it's up to the coaches to see what toughness is and be able to define it because they're in there with their boots on in that level and get some more toughness there.
So for all the talk about BYU guys then, they still probably need to bring in, on average, I mean, some usually be 1, some 3, but on average, if they can bring in 2 local guys a year, and if they're stars, that's great. But if they're not stars, if they're the next Jeff Johnson, the next Drew Hansen, the next Jackson Emery, someone who's going to go out there and defend and hit open shots when they come their way and stay in the program and grow.
Yeah, I put Dallin Hall in that category too.
Dallin Hall. Saunders could go in that category. There's another guy.
Saunders
right?
was a little more skilled.
He was. And these guys will come with different, different abilities. Some guys will have some size. Maybe some guys can really develop into good shooters. Maybe some guys need to be defensive-minded. But there's a couple guys every year. That's 8. And then you're filling in with the transfer portal around them. We hear that in football all the time. It's no way to build a team, but it's where you do absolutely go address a need. We hear that in the NBA. We hear that in college basketball. But what we hear that in college football. But what we hear in college basketball is at least half the teams in the portal. It's over 2,000 kids nationwide, and every year you put a new team together. It seems like there ought to be a little bit of a core, a little bit of a backbone. And I saw the 4 Final Four teams profiled, and that skewed a little bit because some of those schools have the money to go get, 3 potential or 4 potential draft picks in the case of Duke, who was an Elite 8 team this year and Final Four last year. Arizona went out and got a lot of impact freshmen. If you can get 3 of the top 25 recruits, maybe you can do it differently.
Yeah.
Well, you got 1 of the top 25 recruits. So you need the program guys around them, and you need the glue guys and whatever other.
Yeah, and you look at the Michigan, the team that won the title. I mean, some of those guys early on, they weren't all that heralded, but have some toughness and show some ability there. And go get the hunger dudes too, the proverbial run through the wall. Those are the guys, because then if you lose, well, you feel like you gave it your all, right? And there's going to be a winner and loser every time. And as long as you didn't leave anything out there, I think not accept losing, but deal with it much more comfortably if you gave everything you had and you put it all out there and you came up short. Okay, that happens, right? There's just no other way around it. And at least you can, you should be able to sleep better anyway. It's a game. But you feel better about that. Go for some toughness. Go for some guys who are going to lay it out on the line. You need the skill guys, but go for guys whose primary attribute is toughness. And they can shoot it. They can play a little bit, maybe do a little bit of everything. But what overwhelms you about them or what you like about them is their mental and physical toughness.
And when you really get to know them mentally, and some guys want more playing time, you just can't give it to a freshman if you're going to compete at a high level in the Big 12 with 3 Sweet 16 teams and half the teams going to the NCAA tournament. I really think there's something to stashing guys, and I really think UVU is something they ought to look at. And even if that takes boosters saying, hey, we'll slide you a little extra money, take these guys, UVU is routinely, under multiple coaches, including the current one, Todd Phillips, they've routinely developed players. It seems to be, I mean, you can go back to Ronnie Price and Dick Hunsaker, and in between, and Madsen did it while he was there, and Pope did it while he was there. Some guys who need to play, who want to play and need to get bigger and stronger, go play there. You're right down the road. They can keep an eye on you. They can slide you right into the program. No culture shock moving in from another time zone, or in the case of all these foreign players coming from another continent, and not a lot of those guys seem to be satisfied.
Yeah, a kid like Jake Toulson had toughness.
Yes. And is it Holcomb? They had a big guard this year who was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, where's he going to go? And he's got some size. He's 6'5". I mean, as talented as Rob Wright was, I mean, he was usually undersized in his matchup. Sometimes it was even. Sometimes he went against a guy his size. You know, and instead, can you go get somebody who's going to give you a size advantage?
Yeah. Okay.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Everything you missed in this show, including reflexes in the dugout, they matter a lot. We will get to that. Stay with us, DJ and PK, it's 97.5. We got NBA playoffs tonight, play-ins anyway. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Just a bunch of guys sitting around and talking sports. This is Scotty G and Friends.
Logan Cooley, 2 years ago, is about the time things really started to break that this organization was going to move from Phoenix to Salt Lake City. And now 2 years later, you're in the playoffs. Just what does that feeling feel like for you as a player, knowing that you're going to be playing postseason hockey?
It's awesome. I mean, I think as a little kid, you dream about eventually one day winning the Stanley Cup, and just the experience we're going to gain from being in the playoffs. You know, there's some guys that on our team, I'm one of them, that haven't even experienced playoff hockey. And, you know, you watch on TV, just the excitement in the buildings, how intense the hockey is. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be unbelievable. And I'm sure the fans are going to have the Delta Center rocking. And we can't honestly wait to, you know, get started once playoffs start. You know, it's going to be the most fun hockey that, you know, I think I'm going to be a part of.
Catch Scotty G and Friends weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The Slacker Radio headlines are brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 801-210-6800 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. NBA play-in tournament starts tonight. Miami and Charlotte, 5:30. Portland and Phoenix, 8 o'clock. PK, which team do you think the Jazz most resemble in their rebuild? Charlotte, Portland, Houston, and Phoenix, I think, would be 4 pretty good examples, comparisons. Any of them really line up?
I'm going OKC, man. I'm thinking big.
All the way to the top.
Yeah. That's my model. They are my model. Oklahoma City Thunder. I think they should be everybody's model. Stockpile picks, pick well, lose, got the losing, did the losing, used the picks, and you didn't just go and Holmgren was going to be the number 2 guy, right? And so they took him at number 2, and that was pretty obvious. He's big stork of a guy, can do a lot of different things, but then they get an all-star at Jalen Williams at number 12. That's Donovan Mitchell territory. And he's out of Santa Clara. Mitchell played at Louisville. Big difference between Santa Clara and Louisville, right? But they see stuff in him, and they take him, right? And then they get Dort, who's a free agent. I mean, Dort on his own is not great, but Dort in that system every team passed on him, and some teams passed on him multiple times if they had more than one pick in the first or second round. They pluck him off the scrap iron, and that was the year the Jazz had 3 second-round picks. I know because somebody in the organization complained to me that they didn't take Dort. They didn't sign Dort or draft him. Anyone had to sign him, they needed to draft him, and they didn't. They missed on all 3 of those guys, and so you look at that, right? Then they've taken some other guys that were bench guys and getting big-time production. Then you take a guy like Hartenstein, you need some size. Okay, he has a nice season for the Knicks, and then you bring him aboard. And he provides the size you're looking for. Caruso on his own, he's okay. But what they needed, and then they trade a high pick in Giddey to get that. And then what do you got? Well, you got the team that wins the title, and then I haven't seen the odds, but they're going to be no worse than second this year to win the title. Maybe the Celtics have been surging now with the return of Tatum, obviously, so we'll see how that plays out. They're the one I'm shooting for every time out.
They had 2 tank years of 22 and 24 wins, and then they had a year where they missed the playoffs, but they were 40 wins. They were clearly on their way. 57 wins in the playoffs and then 68 in the title. That's their 5-year arc. Now, the Jazz have had a 4-year rebuild, but when I suggested 50 wins, and I get it, it's way early to worry about that stuff. You still got what's going to happen on draft night. Well, what's going to happen with the draft lottery? Where you're going to pick.
It's fun to talk about, though.
Yeah. But nonetheless, you look at the kind of jump they made. Where are the Jazz then in that progression? I picked the other teams because I still thought there would be a progression, I don't think any of us are crazy.
Yeah, but the progression, we already talked about that. The progression was already there. They just chose not to exploit it. I don't think OKC had any tanking years. I think they just sucked. And that was the issue. And they did do a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He didn't play at the end, neither did Dort. So there was some at the end.
There was.
But
they signed 10-day guys.
And they made a big trade to get SGA. Well, I'm not saying Jaren Jackson is going to be SGA, but I could argue that Jaren Jackson, at the time of the trade, walked into a better situation than when SGA walked into. Now, SGA is just taking his game to a sort of stunning levels, right? We don't necessarily anticipate that for Jaren Jackson, but I could argue at the time of the trade, the Jazz had more talent around Jaren Jackson than SGA had when he got to OKC.
The Jazz are different in that regard in that their projected starting 5, if we can sit here and project that right now, we're sure 2 guys are not part of the youth. They're part of the rebuild, but they're not part of this youth movement. They were acquired by trade with Markkanen and with Jackson, and those guys are both clearly right in the middle of
and they're still young enough.
This is it. This is their prime.
Oh, I think Jackson has at least 5 years of stellar play.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Health permitting.
Yep. So is this the parallel I want to draw? So is what we're watching right now really the Jazz, even though they're tanking, equivalent to what Oklahoma City did with the 40 and 42 season? Because the Jazz, and it's not a great – I mean, Jackson came mid-year, so he couldn't help them win games early.
Right.
But given the talent they have and given the fact that this team – it takes very little imagination to see this team win in 30 games and maybe 35. And the fact they didn't have Jackson until, a little over halfway through the season. Is this their 40-win rebuild season?
The 25-26 season. I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's the point I was making earlier, that – we're going to look at standings and we're going to say, wow, if they win 50 games, and let's just use that for argument's sake, they're going to go from 22 to 50. That's incredible. What a leap. But it is misleading to a degree because if they wanted to, they could have gone from 35, 36, maybe 37 post-trade, maybe even 40, but it might have been too late. Just go like 36, 37 post-trade. That's not as big of a jump, obviously.
Well, they've had 4 years here, and they were 30. I mean, they've really been working hard at the tank the last 2 years. They were 37 and 31 win teams the first 2 years they missed the playoffs. So they've already been in that neighborhood. They've just artificially suppressed the victory totals here the last couple of years.
And I hate artificial suppression, but they
had
to do it.
I thought as soon as they said that, that's going to be a thing.
It was so deep.
I mean, honestly,
it's like a
if I were
governmental
filling
language.
if I were filling in with like Ben or Jake or whatever and doing a segment or an hour like we do sometimes and one of them misses for whatever reason, if one of them said that, I would absolutely jump on that. Artificial suppression, I hate it when that happens.
Hey, I'm going to put that on my tombstone. He hated artificial suppression.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing Yock didn't have the drop for Mike Fulta that I called for that. What? When you told Mike that your mom won a car on the slots in Vegas. What? That is going to be such a useful drop. Artificial suppression. What?
What?
That happens all the time, though.
What?
Why is that so unusual?
I just love the way he said it.
I
He
got
was
that.
so-
I know not from your perspective. Why did he think that was so stunning?
Well, just that it's specific to your mom did this. I mean, we know that people win stuff like that in Vegas. There's
Right.
always some random story about somebody winning something, and and I've seen them all the time. They pop up on your social media feed or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. But that you know somebody specifically, and he's known you for a while and he didn't know the story, it just caught him off guard.
Yeah.
I have to say, that would be the only story I've heard of personally. I mean, I've seen him in the news a million times. I know it happens.
Yeah, but you don't have a lot of friends or family. To me, I do.
Right. No, I mean, I have relatives who live in Reno and they don't gamble at all, although they have all these stories because they, know tons of people. They've lived there their whole lives, so they've heard the story. We were going to the what was the story? They were going to it's not a what are the dinners? What are they
Buffet?
called? Yeah, they're going to whoever's buffet, whatever hotel it was, and they were walking by, and it was like 2 rows over or something as they were cutting through the casino to get to the buffet, and it just went off. And it's just like you could just hear all the people screaming. My uncle was like, it was just all this adrenaline and all that because they were walking past some rows, and so there were players, I guess people gather around and look or whatever, and just making all this racket and yeah.
There's 2 things that will happen when you're walking in the casino. For me, 2 things always happen is you hear those noises, and then inevitably a showgirl comes up to me and asks me to take it off.
That didn't happen at
PK,
a
take it off, baby.
Yeah.
The best part of that story, that actually happened in our studio. She was
surprised
probably
when I
there
did.
about 1 or 2 minutes before she figured out what was going on. Okay, that guy. This is okay. I see where we're going here. All right, and then she was playing along.
No,
But
she
then the
saw
best
where
part
she
was when you came
wanted to
back,
go. That's
when
what
you
she saw.
PK, take it off, baby.
when you came back from the bowl game and you said, I think it was at Fremont Street or something, but there was some bowl activity they do during the week.
It's at
You're like,
the,
she was
the
there, and she
convention
recognized-
center.
She recognized you.
It was they always do a dinner like the day before at the convention center or lunch, a big fancy lunch. And so I was there, and yeah, she was there in her. She wasn't.
Full regalia?
She wasn't in her costume in the studio, was she?
Yeah, she was, I think. Yeah,
She was.
I think so.
Oh. Well, then there was less of a costume at the convention center.
That might be true.
Yeah, for both of us.
Hey-o.
I look hot in leather. What can I say?
BYU gets a commitment from Tyler Betsy. Shot 40.7% from the 3 this past season. Came off the bench for the Orange. Played a year at Cincinnati. Then he went to Syracuse. He's on his 3rd school. And I suppose that's okay as long as he shoots more than 40% from 3, PK. He's got to light it up.
Yeah, we're going to hear all the heavens to Betsy stuff. That's going to be out there. So let's stop with that already.
No, no, wordplay. There must be wordplay.
No, but it can't be obvious wordplay.
Well, that one's teed up for you on a,
Right,
on a
that's
silver platter.
too obvious. So you cannot use that.
Okay.
The NFL expected to make a push for an 18-game regular season in the next collective bargaining agreement. So that would mean the Super Bowl moves to President's Day weekend, and they probably add a second bye because that would probably be negotiated as part of this, which would probably move opening day to Labor Day weekend. More football. And it would start in 2028 or 2031 or somewhere in between, but that's kind of the 4-year window they're looking at.
Well.
Isn't that just going to lead to more meaningless games at the end? It's going to more
Yeah,
games,
you're
more
just
time
moving
for
the
the standings to
bag
separate and teams to tank.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be enough games. Whatever the last game is, it doesn't matter if it's 12 or it's 15, it's 18, it's 20. There's going to be teams that have clinched. They can go higher or no, they can't go higher, can't go lower, and how they're going to approach that game. That's always going to be the case. But somehow the NFL, that doesn't factor in. Because of the fact that they play so few games, I would be interested to see the TV ratings and attendance on that 17th game compared to 16, 15, so forth. How much has it changed? How much has it been fans have been turned off by it? Because my guess is not at all. That just means for the folks who have season tickets or the folks who go to the game, that just means another Sunday to party and do something that you really enjoy, right? So you're going to get an extra one now, so you're not going to turn that down, even if the game is crap and it's a bunch of subs playing. It's the NFL. It's sort of Teflon there. So I wonder how that will play out, if it will really make a difference. Because there will be some games that matter. And it's just what we do on Sundays.
TV. I think TV, they do a great job of.
Then it won't matter.
The big names, the big personalities, the better teams, they get the primetime slots and the late afternoon games, and they regionalize the bad teams. Like, we're just not watching the Jets and the Titans and whoever else is down. They stash those teams. They hide those teams away. They're only seen in their local markets. The rest of the country doesn't have.
Or if you buy the ticket or a package, whatever it's called.
I think to your point about attendance, that's a different deal. That attendance can drop in these teams where, they get down, they stay down. Some teams, especially in the Sun Belt, I mean, the Raiders still put people in the seats because visiting teams sell a ton of tickets and people will look for an excuse to go to Vegas and see a game while you're there. And I mean, we have people on our own staff, Raider and Bronco fans, who will time it and take their kids down. I mean, it's so drivable from Salt Lake. Go down, see your favorite team, whoever it is.
Right, but
come back.
That doesn't matter whether you have 16, 17, or 18 games.
No.
If you suck, adding an extra game isn't going to make any difference. It's not going to help you. It's not going to hurt you.
Scotty G just likes to check the schedule, depending on his work schedule with all the games he's broadcasting with Aggie football and basketball, and he and his kid love to go to a game. And whether they go to Vegas or whether they go to Denver, I think they went to Denver last year, and it just comes down to when can he get to a game if there's a bye week or a week off, in between seasons or whatever it is. Where does the bowl game fall? And he tries to go catch one somewhere. So,
well, thanks for telling us that.
Yeah. Baseball, heads up in the dugout. Were you watching when that happened, or did you see a clip later?
No, I was literally watching.
Orioles manager Craig Albertaz struck in the face by a line drive, but returned an inning later, and the guy who fouled the ball off, Orioles second baseman Jeremiah Johnson, who hit his own manager with that foul ball in the dugout, an inning later came back and hit a grand slam, and down 7-1, the Orioles rally and beat Arizona 9-7. You've often talked about the danger for the pitcher on the mound and how much you fear the comebacker. The foul ball into the dugout, just almost as scary, right? I mean, physically, it depends on the stadium, I guess, but it's not that much further away.
It's not. We had a first base coach years ago, not that long ago, actually died. Yeah. And that's why they all wear helmets now. Yep. I read the book. They wrote a book on him, and I read it. He had two little kids and was toiling away in the minors, hoping to be a first base or at least get to the majors as a first base coach. I can remember Jim Leland told his mother once that, I'm not going to be a coach in the Pittsburgh or whatever. They didn't have a spot for me. And she said, well, what are they going to do? He said, well, they already have their first base coach and their third base coach. And then his mother said, well, why don't you coach second then? True story. Maybe they put some netting. I saw one time I went to a Diamondback game, and the well, like the photographer's well that's just past the third base dugout? Mm-hmm. I saw a gal take a foul line drive, direct hit in the face.
Ew.
Yeah, and went down, and they had to get a big towel blood and take her away with the towel covering basically from the neck up. Yeah, so that's why they put in all that netting. Because of people, especially now with phones, you're looking down a lot, and maybe they end up putting netting across the dugout. Usually the managers, they'll either sit or they'll have their hands over the railing, and it came at him because, foul ball, boom, came at him so fast that that's why he moved to the side of his face. It didn't hit him flush.
Mike Folta, Mammoth Radio play-by-play voice, joined us at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. Get it wherever you get your podcasts. He talked at length about the playoff race, Dylan Guenther scoring 40 goals, the game tonight with the Winnipeg Jets. There's only 2 games left in the regular season. Talked about the Mammoth sitting 1 point in front of the Kings in the battle to see who gets to play with the Pacific Division teams in the playoffs and who is stuck with the Central Division teams. Get that wherever you get your podcast, KSLSports.com. It's available at YouTube, wherever you go, Spotify, Apple, whatever you're looking for. That is what we've been talking about today. Your feedback is coming up next. Stay with us.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
Join Scotty G tomorrow from noon to 3 at the Bar W Beef pop-up event at the Cal Ranch store at 950 North Main Street in Spanish Fork. It's time for your feedback, all the stuff you have to say about today's show. What should the Utah Jazz do with the free agents Kevin Love and Yusuf Nurkic? Some interesting answers here, PK. Travis, they have to keep both. No, Travis, they do not. They do not have to do that. Travis is demanding it. That could really jam them up financially. I'd be surprised. It might be a little problem with roster spots as well for that. Kathy, the retired librarian, says keep Love for sure. Keep Nurkic if possible. Walker needs a good backup. The team needs K-Love.
I don't think the team needs K-Love. Nothing against him because you've got all excited about these young guys. You're just going to let them all go. Not the young drafted guys, but all the triple-double guys.
Oscar Schwebe with his 29 and 17 the final night.
Lion King had 2 of them, didn't he?
The Lion King did.
Yeah.
I can see him being on the roster. I'm not sure Nurkic is competing with him for a spot. I guess I
was talking about
get
Kevin,
down to 15th, you can do whatever
Nurkic.
you want.
Nurkic, to me, if he wants to come back and it fits, it's a no-brainer.
Yep. I just think it's going to be too much money.
It might very well be.
See what the market is and see how good the teams are. Somebody might offer money and think, maybe you just can't pay enough somebody to go into a bad situation.
Yeah, I don't think going in being 32, he's 31 now, that he needs that. Plus, these guys are smart. They know this team is about to win.
Yep.
You had some, and you got along great when you were losing. Stands to reason you'd get along great
if you're winning.
Yeah, that's the easy part.
Josh, 100. Keep them. These guys have endeared themselves to the fan base. That mission has been accomplished.
But you can't go on that, though.
Not alone. Not alone.
No, you can't. I mean, if that was the case, they never would have traded Joe. You can't get caught up, as you said, in the sentimentality. It's got to be run like a business. And the good thing about DA is that he's proven that he's not interested in the sentimentality. He's traded a bunch of guys and took grief for it, and then it turns out it's right.
Yeah, I wonder if it was. He obviously gets over the sentimentality and makes the move. But in the honest moment, what pained him more to trade Paul Pierce? I guess you could say trade Garnett, but Pierce had been a lifer there. To trade or to not give Isaiah Thomas.
I don't think it pained him at all. I think he had zero pain.
He maybe
he was trained by Red Auerbach.
Well, actually, there's a story about him going up to Red Auerbach and telling Red Auerbach that you got to trade Larry Bird now while you can get something for him.
Yeah.
So he's always been low on the sentimentality. Maybe it's zero.
I think he was giddy that he made great moves to help the franchise win down the line.
That was true, but both things can be true. Absolutely, he was giddy. That's why he did it. Right? He knew it was the winning move.
But see, he's not. If he has a friendship with those guys, he's not losing or denting the friendship they may be.
Well, he does. I think he does have a friendship, and that's why I'd be intrigued what level of sentimentality. He knew it was the right thing not to
give. Yeah, but you can keep the friendship. That's my point. The friendship doesn't go away.
And look at years later when Isaiah Thomas wants a spot in the G League, Ainge is hooking him up with the Utah G League team. I mean, there's clearly a relationship there. There's clearly trust. There's clearly friendship.
Isaiah was hurt, but clearly he wasn't a max guy because he was injured, and he never repeated what he had. It was undisputed, undeniably the right move.
Yep. All right, DJ and PK, we're out of time. Jake and Ben are coming up next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.